everybody, Maran here for another My Week With video. So this week I've been driving the 2021 Dodge Charger Hellcat Redeye Widebody. So this thing is amazing, and if you already watched last fall, I got to review one of these on the press launch for this vehicle. I gave all the details on this car, so if you're curious to hear all those details, I will link that video above. But this video focuses on what it's like to live with one of these beasts. So I had about a business week, 5 days here, Monday through Friday, with this vehicle, and it has been fantastic. I've put about 150 miles on it here in my week. And there's just so many things I love about this. I mean, obviously the power, the speed, the sound. I think the sound is actually still my favorite thing. And especially in the Redeyes, you get a larger supercharger here. And so that makes that supercharger whine even more exaggerated than what you get with a normal Hellcat. And the best thing about the supercharger is how much you can enjoy it at low speeds. Like, listen to that, and that's just like quarter throttle, just accelerating up to 40 miles per hour. Very chill, but you still get that super fun sound. And that's something with a lot of these high horsepower vehicles, they're pretty boring a lot of times when you're not pushing them hard, whereas this isn't boring. You get this insane supercharger whine, which especially here in the Redeyes, it almost sounds like a mixture between like a violin and a theremin. The way that it sounds, it's so hilarious to hear that, and to hear that whenever you're not having to go full throttle is really cool. And I think that's why the Mopar stuff is still my favorite supercharged stuff out there, because stuff like this Shelby GT500, no supercharger whine whatsoever. It's the most disappointing thing. You get this awesome supercharged engine and you get no supercharger whine. I love that Dodge did this. This is hands down the best supercharged power plant in the industry that's on sale today, and it's honestly one of like a handful. And another thing that I really love about the Redeyes here, and about all Chargers though, honestly, is that they have a very sensitive throttle tuning. And so it always encourages you to misbehave, because, I mean, you just breathe on the gas, especially here in the Redeye, and you get a lot of forward momentum. And so it's just hilarious, because you really have to be delicate with your throttle. Otherwise, this thing is more than happy to go sideways, is more than happy to start laying tire even when you're in third or fourth gear at like highway speeds. You stop on this thing, you'll start getting some wheel spin again. It's hilarious, just the insane amount of power. I mean, that's what you expect with 797 horsepower, so I mean, it's I'm stating the obvious here, but it's just kind of funny just how sensitive this is, even compared to stuff like the GT500 and stuff, which has similar amounts of power. They don't feel like they're as much of a handful as this because of that throttle tuning. Now, if you don't like that super aggressive throttle tuning, you can go into the eco mode. There's the custom drive modes you can go into, and in eco mode, this actually dials it way back and makes it much less sensitive for the throttle. And so that's something that might make a lot of sense if you're trying to eke out good fuel economy on the highway or something like that, so that you're not constantly jumping on the gas. So one little thing, but I'm sure most Redeye owners probably won't care about that. But we're coming up to the tight corners I always take in my reviews, and let's see how this thing handles. Oh yeah. So whenever I did the original review of this car last fall, I wasn't able to take it on very tight corners. So this really allows this vehicle to shine, even though it's massive and wide. These tires, these 305 wide Pirellis, do a really good job of gripping. Yes, it's large and it feels weighty and substantial, but it's not terrible around corners. Again, I think they really improved the handling so much, and I already talked about this whenever I was taking it around the track and whatnot. But even on tight little back roads here, this thing still handles really well. And this just goes back to what I've been saying for years about this wide body package. It really is the way to go if you do want handling in your Mopar product. I mean, these wide bodies are fantastic. Even though they don't put power down still as well as I would like, it just has really good grip in corners. And so, yeah, very impressed with the handling still in these. Anyone who likes to bash, especially the wide body Mopar stuff, for not handling well, clearly has never driven one, because if they have, they'd see this will keep up just fine with a lot of other muscle cars, pony cars, and even some sports cars. I mean, still very impressive performance. And you get that impressive handling with this amazing soundtrack and the supercharger whine and stuff, and it's just makes for a really fun combo, even on a tight back road. I mean, seriously, does that ever get old? But yeah, so also, you know, if you are doing some highway cruising, for example, because this is such a great highway cruiser, and that's one really cool thing about the Chargers is that they are such great highway cruisers. And I just wanted to show great supercharger whine even with the windows up. I just have the windows down. I think you hear it a little bit louder with the windows down. But anyway, highway cruising is super nice in this. I actually did do, I'd say maybe 50 miles of highway cruising in this. And it's a lot of fun, you know, just cruising on the highway too, because you have that power right there. And it's so easy to pass people and so fun because you can just immediately just get your pass done, you know, in record time. And it's really fun to do it. You know, that it just has so much power at those higher speeds as well. So a couple things I noticed, you know, with all the highway driving and stuff that I did was that they're actually, the one thing I love about the Hellcat motor in particular is there is basically no drone with this exhaust. If you go for a Scat Pack Charger, like I had one of those for a week last year, Scat Pack Widebody Charger, and that was a lot of drone out of the exhaust. And for a daily driver, some people don't care about the drone. I know most Scat Pack owners don't complain about it, so maybe I'm being a baby here, but you know, that's just one thing I didn't love about those. And with this, you don't really have any of that. So I really like that, you know, that's, I mean, not you need any more incentive to go up to a Hellcat, but, you know, the Hellcat motor seems to dampen and get rid of all that drone for some reason. And so just one thing I liked here about this. But otherwise, whenever you're out on the highway just cruising, you know, not having the drone is really nice. And for those who are curious, my highway fuel economy, I didn't do a strict highway fuel economy loop, but I did just over my 150 miles of driving here, which did involve some pretty spirited driving as well. My average has been 13.9 mpg, so basically, you know, 14 mpg, which isn't too bad because these are actually rated at 12 mpg in the city, 15 combined, and then 21 on the highway. So I mean, I did do a decent amount of highway driving, so you know, maybe I should have been closer to that 21 number, but with all the, you know, getting on this that I was doing, to be, you know, just 1 mpg less than the combined rating, I'm, you know, pretty happy with it. You know, it's not bad, especially considering this is an extra, like, you know, 90 horsepower over what you get in like the Ram T-Rex. Obviously that's a lot heavier, has terrible aerodynamics, but that I was getting like 11 mpg, and I did even more highway driving in that than I did in this. So having more power, this just goes to, you know, show you, I mean, if you don't need a truck, you can still have tons and tons of power and get, you know, a little bit better fuel economy. Again, for those who care, I'm sure most people don't that drive around in these things, but just one little thing to mention there. And also, as far as, you know, when you aren't just stomping on the gas and driving like a lunatic in this thing, whenever you're just taking it easy, this one has the upgraded Harman Kardon stereo, and it is a pretty nice sounding stereo. So I did get to experience that a little bit more. Did a lot of, you know, Apple CarPlay listening, you know, with a wired in source, and it's actually a pretty decent stereo. Not that, again, you're going to probably hear too much in this vehicle, but if you are someone who, you know, does listen to your stereo in your performance vehicle, just know that this one sounded pretty good as well. Speaking of sounding pretty good, about to go under an overpass here. Those full throttle runs, you gotta immediately lean on these massive Brembo brakes to haul this thing to a stop or slow down quickly, because the way this thing gains speed, you gotta really have self-control if you want to keep your license in this thing, because it'll put you into extra legal speeds very, very quickly. And but that's just also part of the appeal of, you know, the sinister nature here of the Charger that just makes it so fun, is you know, testing your self-control. But it's been an absolute blast living with this thing. Obviously, you know, again, you could have figured that out before you even clicked on this video, but yeah, I absolutely love this thing. Now, the last thing I really kind of want to mention is the pricing, because, you know, there's one thing, these are starting to get expensive, and I've been seeing people commenting about, like, man, Chargers are getting expensive, and I don't blame you. This one, as tested, is $92,000 roughly. It's like $91,800, and now it does have some expensive stuff. You get the satin black hood, roof, and trunk lid, and that's like a $3,500 option just to have those in satin black. And there's a few other options, you know, that are expensive, and like I said, this stereo is, I think, $1,600 and stuff. If you don't care about that, you can save some money there. I mean, if you're shopping in this kind of price range anyway, you probably don't care, but just the way that I would configure one of these, just for anyone who's curious, I think it would be, you know, closer to about $83,000, so about $9,000 or so less than this one. You can still get all the same performance, all the same, you know, great looks and all that kind of stuff, just, you know, being a little bit more reserved on the options. But the final thing I do want to mention, of if you are shopping around for these, is that, you know, one thing I've been noticing with the Redeye, especially now that I've lived with it for a week, is that, yes, it's faster than a regular Hellcat, and yes, it's more fun than a regular Hellcat. The bigger supercharger means you have louder whine, and the more power is just always, more fun. But is it, $8,500 more fun than a regular Hellcat Charger wide body? I think if it were my money, again, if you're loaded, sure, go for the top thing, have the bragging rights, have the absolute best thing possible, sure. But if you're, if you are trying to do this on a little bit of a budget, being totally honest, I think you get about 90% of the experience of the Redeye with the regular Charger wide body, and you save yourself $8,500. And so, if it were me, buying one of these, I would probably skip the Redeye as much as I love it, go for a regular Hellcat, wide body Charger, and, one of those configured the way I would do it, again, having some restraint with the options and stuff, would put it around $73,000. Still, we're still talking about a very expensive car, but 73 grand versus 92 is a big difference, and, that kind of softens the blow of these and then kind of gets this back to the value that it kind of was whenever the Hellcats were originally debuted, several years ago now, where it was like, the insane amount of power for, not a lot of money. And I think that kind of, retains that. And it's a little bit unfortunate you can't get a non-wide body Charger Hellcat anymore. You have to get them with the wide body package. But I think, to put the power down decently, I think that you really do need the wide body package, and it just looks so much cooler. But yeah, that's just the thing, is as you saw and as I've noticed here in my week of driving, it still struggles to put power down even with the 305s. It's better than it is with the 275s you got on a non-wide body in the past, but and the wheel spin is half the fun. I don't actually mind the wheel spin. I think the more wheel spin, the more fun, honestly. But if you are trying to actually go fast in a straight line and not just make a bunch of noise and sound and smoke, then I would say that you might want to just go for this. And so I do recommend the wide body package, even though that is a hefty upcharge. In the past, I think it totally is worth it for all the upgrades you get with the wide body. Getting the bigger brakes and stuff too, I think definitely makes that whole package worthwhile. But anyway, that's about all of my thoughts. I'm going to keep this video pretty short because, again, everything else I could just do accelerations all day long in this thing, but it's pretty one-dimensional. It's just hilarious fun in a straight line, really impressive in a corner, and better handling than most people will probably think or expect. And it's just all smiles. The Chargers are always about the fun. Yes, this thing could be smoked by a Tesla in a straight line just because they put power down perfectly and this does not. But is this, I've driven all the fastest Teslas. This is 10 times more fun than those. Yeah, you get the shock and awe of the, insane acceleration in those Teslas, but you never get the character, the sounds, the raw feeling, and and that really adds the adrenaline rush, and it doesn't just feel like some amusement park ride. It just feels like you're just driving around in the coolest thing ever. And it's really, I think I'm kind of looking at this as like the swan song for the Charger. They didn't say what they're doing with the Charger in the future. We know a new Charger is coming, and there's no details yet. They've just said in their executive interviews in the past that you can't expect them to keep this motor around forever with the way emissions stuff is going and restrictions and all that. And so, we'll have to see what they do. They're saying they're still going to do very high performance stuff, but will it be a massive supercharged V8? Maybe they'll keep the V8. I doubt they'll keep the supercharger. This is definitely an endangered species, and so if you have the means to get one of these and you've ever been wanting to get one, go for it. Go for it. Live in the now. But even if the Redeye isn't the last of the insane supercharged Mopar products, it's certainly going to go down in the history books as one of the craziest. And so I just feel incredibly fortunate to be able to have spent as much time as I have here in the Redeye. And like I said, I wholeheartedly recommend one. Get one while you can. I'm pretty confident these things, will be collector's items one day as well. And yeah, they're just incredibly special vehicles. But yeah, so that's about all my thoughts here on the Redeye Charger. Huge thanks to Dodge for providing me here with this vehicle to drive around for the week. It's been an absolute blast, of course. And yeah, but anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Redeyes in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.